Daniel starts investing at 30. Ryan waits until 40 because life feels too expensive right now. Both men are not opposites. They are two versions of the same responsible person at different ages. That makes the comparison uncomfortable because the villain is not stupidity. The villain is delay that feels reasonable while it is happening. By age 65, this simple model does not show a $20,000 gap. It shows a gap close to $500,000. And the strangest part is that Ryan does not need to be reckless for that to happen. He only needs to wait through one ordinary decade. That is why waiting until 40 is not really a question about being late. It is a question about how expensive time becomes when you try to buy it back. Not because age 40 is too late. It is not. Starting at 40 can still build real wealth. But the monthly price of the same goal can change dramatically. Let's keep this fair. This is not a promise of market returns, and it is not personal financial advice. It is a simplified model using assumptions you can change. Investor.gov, run by the SEC, has a compound interest calculator built for this kind of time comparison. Investor.gov also emphasizes regular saving and investing over a career while making clear that investing carries risk. So here is the setup. Daniel invests $500 a month starting at age 30. Ryan invests nothing from 30 to 39, then starts $500 a month at age 40. Both stop the comparison at age 65. For illustration, assume a 7% annual return compounded monthly before taxes and fees. That return is not guaranteed, and real life will be messier. But the point is not the exact number. The point is the shape of the math. Daniel gets 35 years for his money to work. Ryan gets 25 years. That 10-year gap does not just remove 10 years of deposits. It removes 10 years of early growth that could have grown again later. Year 1. Daniel's plan looks boring. $500 leaves his checking account every month. There is no dramatic lifestyle upgrade. There is no viral success story. Just a calendar, an automatic contribution, and a number that moves slowly. Ryan feels lighter. He keeps the extra $500 for rent increases, dinners, travel, emergencies, or just breathing room. And that feeling matters. If someone has high-interest debt or no emergency fund, investing blindly can create a different problem. Even Investor.gov starts its student roadmap with debt control and emergency savings before consistent investing. So in year 1, Ryan may feel more financially comfortable than Daniel. Daniel has a tiny account balance. Ryan has flexibility. The spreadsheet does not show the emotional value of flexibility. Year 3. Daniel has contributed $18,000. With our illustrative assumptions, the balance might be a little over $20,000. That does not feel life-changing. Ryan looks at that number and thinks that is not enough to matter. He is not being lazy. He is reacting to a result that still looks small. This is where waiting becomes psychologically dangerous. The first years of investing often look unimpressive. The reward for early discipline is mostly invisible. You are building the base layer that later growth will stand on. By year 5, Daniel has put in $30,000. At 7% compounded monthly, the account could be around $35,800. The gain is real, but still not spectacular. Ryan is now 35 and still feels like he has time. And he does. But time is no longer free. Every year he waits, the later monthly catch-up amount gets larger. This is the hidden bill. It does not arrive as a bank statement. It arrives as a future lifestyle squeeze. By age 40, Daniel has invested for 10 years. He has contributed $60,000. Under the same assumptions, the account could be around $86,500. Now Ryan begins. He starts investing the same $500 a month. On the surface, he is finally doing the responsible thing. And he is. Starting at 40 is far better than never starting. But Daniel's first 10 years are no longer just 10 years of deposits. That $86,500 now has 25 more years to compound while Daniel keeps contributing. Ryan is buying the same habit, but with a shorter runway. Year 10 of Ryan's journey is age 50. Ryan has contributed $60,000 by then. His account may also be around $86,500. That sounds equal until you notice Daniel is already 20 years in. Daniel has contributed $120,000. His account could be around $262,000. Ryan did not just miss the first chapter. He missed the chapter where the earlier money starts helping write the next one. This is why compound interest feels unfair. It rewards dollars by age, not by how hard those dollars were to earn. A dollar invested at 30 has more birthdays than a dollar invested at 40. And every birthday gives it another chance to grow. Now add real life. At 40, Ryan may have a bigger mortgage, child care costs, aging parents, a car replacement, or medical bills. His income may be higher, but his obligations may be higher too. So the catch-up plan is not just mathematical. It has to survive a busier life. This is where the advice, just invest more later, becomes too clean. Later is often the decade when money has more jobs. Year 20 from Daniel's start is age 50. Daniel's account could be around $262,000. He has not done anything dramatic. He simply kept the automatic habit alive. Ryan, at the same age, is only 10 years into the race. His balance could be around $86,500. The difference is not a moral failure. It is a time horizon difference. The math does not care why Ryan waited. It only counts how many months the money had to compound. This is the number that makes the whole video uncomfortable. Because up to this point, waiting still sounds recoverable. At age 65, the cost finally stops hiding inside the calendar. Now look at age 65. Daniel investing $500 a month from 30 to 65 could end near $900,527 under our assumptions. Ryan investing $500 a month from 40 to 65 could end near $405,036. That is a gap of roughly $491. Again, do not worship the exact number. Change the return, fees, taxes, inflation, or contribution amount, and the final values change. But the pattern stays uncomfortable. The delayed investor often needs a much larger monthly contribution to reach the same endpoint. In this model, Ryan would need a little over $1,112 a month from 40 to 65 to match Daniel's age 65 result. That is more than double Daniel's monthly habit. This is the real cost of waiting. It is not simply losing 10 years. It is turning a $500 habit into a roughly $100 habit later. And that later habit has to compete with a more complicated life. Here is the twist most people miss. Daniel could invest for only the first 10 years, then stop completely at 40. If his early account kept compounding until 65 at the same assumption, it could grow near $495,491. Ryan investing $500 every month from 40 to 65 could still end near $405,036. In that simplified comparison, Daniel's first 10 years can beat Ryan's next 25 years. That is not magic. That is time doing more of the labor. But there is another hidden variable. Early investing only works if you stay invested through ugly markets. Daniel may watch his account fall during a downturn. He may feel foolish for starting early right before bad headlines. He may be tempted to stop contributions at the worst possible moment. Ryan's waiting has a cost, but Daniel's early start has a behavioral test. The market does not only test your spreadsheet, it tests your stomach. That is why this video is not saying everyone must invest every spare dollar at 30. High-interest debt changes the order. A missing emergency fund changes the order. Unstable income changes the order. Personal risk tolerance changes the order. But if the choice is between a small sustainable habit now and a heroic catch-up plan later, the math usually favors the boring habit. OECD's Pensions at a Glance 2025 adds another layer of context. Across OECD countries, populations are aging quickly. The report projects the number of people aged 65 and older per 100 people aged 20 to 64 rising from 33 in 2025 to 52 in 2050. It also says average normal retirement ages are set to rise under current legislation across many OECD countries. That does not tell an American viewer exactly what to do with a 401a or IRA, but it does remind us that retirement planning is happening in a longer life, higher pressure system. The later you start, the more your future self has to solve under that pressure. There is also a cost that does not appear in the compound interest calculator. It is the cost of options you lose while trying to catch up. A 40-year-old who suddenly needs to invest more than $100 a month may have fewer choices elsewhere. Maybe the family vacation gets cut. Maybe the car replacement gets delayed too long. Maybe the emergency fund stays thin because retirement has become urgent. That urgency can create a fragile plan, and fragile plans often break during the exact years when consistency matters most. This is why the early $500 habit is so powerful. It is not powerful because $500 is a magic number. It is powerful because it spreads the sacrifice across more years. Small sacrifice over a long runway often beats heroic sacrifice over a short runway. Now, be careful with the model. It leaves out inflation. It leaves out taxes. It leaves out investment fees. It leaves out whether the money sits in a taxable brokerage, a 401(k), a Roth IRA, or another account. It leaves out employer matching contributions. It also leaves out the fact that returns do not arrive smoothly every month. A real portfolio may jump, fall, stall, and recover in ways this simple model cannot predict. Those missing details can change the final number. But most of them do not rescue waiting. Fees and taxes can make both paths smaller. Inflation can make the retirement target larger. Volatility can test both investors. Employer match can make early participation even more valuable when available. The cleaner the model gets, the more you should question the exact totals. But the rough lesson survives. Time is one of the few investing inputs you cannot increase later. You can increase contributions. You can reduce expenses. You can work longer. You can change account types when eligible. But you cannot make age 40 money become age 30 money. That difference is why waiting feels painless at first and expensive later. At 30, the cost is visible in your monthly budget. At 40, the cost is visible in the required intensity of your plan. At 65, the cost is visible in the final account balance. Same decision, 3 different receipts. The earlier receipt is usually the smallest one. So what should a 30-year-old hear from this? Not panic, not gamble, not chase returns because you feel behind. The lesson is smaller and more useful. Start with the order of operations. Control high-interest debt. Build emergency savings. Use retirement accounts and employer matches when they fit your situation. Then build a contribution you can repeat without resentment. The best investing plan is not the one that looks impressive in January. It is the one you can still follow in October when life gets expensive. And what should a 40-year-old hear? Not, it is over. It is not over. Starting at 40 can still create meaningful wealth, but the plan needs honesty. You may need a higher savings rate, lower fees, fewer lifestyle leaks, a longer working timeline, or more careful tax planning. You may need to stop comparing yourself to someone who started 10 years earlier. Your job is not to erase the past. Your job is to stop adding more expensive years to the bill. The real math is simple but not easy. Waiting until 40 does not make investing impossible. It makes time more expensive. It changes the monthly price of the same retirement target. It shifts the burden from compounding to cash flow. And cash flow is where real life fights back. So before you say, I will start later, ask one question. What exactly will later have that today does not? If the answer is higher income and lower debt, maybe waiting has a reason. If the answer is just motivation, later may be a very expensive fantasy. The goal is not to be perfect at 30. The goal is to stop making your future self pay full price for time you could have bought gradually. Because in investing, the quietest decade can become the loudest number on the final statement. And the variable most people forget to count is not return. It is runway.